thing to.
Don't worry. Anything, they gave me my email and a password. And like I said, I spent.
Get yours done first? Yeah.
I spent my whole lunch, with their IT, and I said, they got me set up, and then I went to re-sign back in, and.
It's a pain.
And then it says my password. So I don't know.
Forgot to write down your password. So, yeah, we just wanted to get that. Well, thank you. Interesting. Running email from.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, because. I would make them change their meeting. The board of that. Yeah. I don't know, we'll figure it out. That's great, you're reading stuff like a person.
Like a person with a family. It's not like audiobooks. Actually.
You could put it on audio.
I think she probably is. Pretty sure. Out of the Excel I just heard.
Yeah, window. I didn't type it. Type the one. Frank got another one, but I read somewhere. Yeah. I'm looking for. Hi. Can't get there from here. One that's face down. Swells. Oh. I think he gets back in the next 3 weeks.
These are those.
I got our hope is faster.
Those yours? No.
These.
I think those are the wardens.
Are these yours?
Yes.
I was right.
I
Are they
didn't-
wardens?
I inherited these. These are not mine. I don't know where about it. So, it's there.
Oh, sure.
Use them as a weapon. Yeah.
On my computer showing that there's no internet under guest.
That what you're logging on through?
It must be working if you go to the internet. This one's working.
Firework, I'm like, okay, huh? It ain't, is it? I've got a close town, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a quick Zoom technical question before the meeting starts?
Yeah.
Is there some sort of a restriction set on the town Zoom settings? I'm unable to change my name on the screen, which I typically can do multiple times a day.
Can somebody answer
I
that?
believe that is a default that you can change. I don't know whether you can change it while the meeting's running, but that is frequently I use that and have that setting for meetings that I go.
Do you have those three little dots in the upper right-hand corner? Because that's where they changed, I had to change them on my last meeting.
Yeah, I've changed it twice today for other meetings. It's not
Oh,
working. All right, well, I'll just, for the record, I am not the fire marshal in Willington. I was in another meeting earlier today for work. So I'm here with Willington Hill Fire Department.
we're gonna make fun of you anyways.
We won't hold it against you, Mike.
Okay, thank you very much.
You probably still change names if you wanted to.
I just don't want the actual fire marshal in Willington to think I'm trying to nose in.
Right, it's 7 o'clock. We're ready to call the meeting to order. We also with the Zoom. There we go. All right, call the meeting to order. Secretary, could you do the roll call?
Mr. Lawler,
Present.
Mr. Prusak,
I'm here.
Ms. Melhouse,
I'm here.
Mr. Parcell,
Present.
Mr. Ross,
Here.
Ms. Summers. Here. Ms. Miller. Here. And Ms. Rockhauser.
Here.
All right, next we will do the approving the minutes from the last meeting. Does anybody have any questions or changes to be done for those minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes of, from 12/21/23.
Second.
Get a second? Okay, ready. Oh, Lisa, did you tell you the votes
I didn't know if you were doing a roll call.
on the minutes? We already did the roll call.
I apologize. So that was for minutes, 8 in favor, none opposed, none, no abstentions.
We have to actually.
We have to do a roll call on everything since we're on a hybrid meeting.
Oh, I apologize.
So it'll be the new world order probably for the foreseeable.
Okay, for the roll call vote, Ms. Rockhauser.
No, I'm sorry.
She doesn't vote.
We probably should have said there's no seating of alternates because all the members are here.
Ms. Summers,
Yes.
Mr. Ross,
Yeah.
Mr. Parcell,
Yes.
Ms. Malhouse,
Yes,
Mr. Prusak,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
and that passes unanimously.
Okay, great. So now we move on to present to speak. Public participation is desired and encouraged. Speakers will be limited. The time and appropriateness of comments to maintain progress, stay on topic and maintain decorum. Time may be limited to maintain progress. Please request to reserve time during the meeting to speak to a specific agenda item. So is there anybody present to speak? Okay, could you identify yourself?
James Callahan, Director of Parks and Rec,
Okay, James.
and I'm here to speak on the cannabis fund, tax fund.
Okay. Is that under new business? Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. Okay.
Did you want to say something up front or wait until
I
we're?
can all work for everybody. Good to meet you in person. Nice to meet you.
Okay, move on to new business.
I'm also present to speak.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry.
that's okay, and I don't know if anybody online is
Thanks,
too,
Joanne.
but that's okay. I'm Michelle Cunningham, 41 Lister Road. Two different issues. One is I had some confusion around the agenda. Typically, this meeting has president speak at the beginning and at the end, so that if there's something that you want to respond to at the end, there's a space for that. But this one has the new section where we should request to reserve time during the meeting if you wish to speak to a specific agenda item. So I'm not sure if you want us from the audience to be able to say, I want to speak on every issue and
You
have
don't- no, you
debate
don't
back
have-
and forth.
You don't have to. It just says please request. You don't have to.
But if there's not time at the end to respond, how
At
will?
the end of the meeting.
Yeah,
Well,
so
there's the communications.
but that's not present to speak. That's for things that are in writing, no?
Right.
Okay. So I was just confused about how you wanted us to proceed. If we had responses to what happens at the meeting tonight, what's the right way for us to, be involved in the meeting? So,
I mean, that was the thing that came out of the pandemic, so.
yeah,
It's
the
always-
planning and zoning committee does it that way, but they've got really concrete applications that you might want to speak on. The Board of Ed has never done it that way because then it becomes a conversation. And, if I want to reserve the right to speak on every issue, I could say that now, and then, it becomes a conversation. So I don't think you want to open that Pandora's box. But if there's not time to speak at the end of the meeting, then I would like the option to
Well, this
respond
is
after.
President speak, so.
Well, okay, so that's my request, is that you either add time at the end of the meeting on your agenda for time present to speak, or else I would like the option, as you include at the top, to be able to speak on any specific agenda item, so all of them, that would be the case. So that's one point. The other one is, I noticed on the agenda that there's an item for a CIP request for an engineering design fund for the new fire station. And my concern is that the town has a lot of different capital needs. Certainly the school vote did not pass in the spring, in part because there was concern that there were a lot of capital needs all across the town, and people didn't really feel like they had a comprehensive look at what the total needs were. So they were afraid the number was going to balloon and multiply once you start to open the possibility of doing new buildings and capital projects to that extent. So my concern is, I don't know enough about that issue because it's not clear here how much that would be for. But the concern would be that we don't have a full look yet at what the different pieces are. And people might be concerned that you're doing architectural work on a new building that the town is not sure we're going to need. And I heard just tonight that there was a flooding issue in this building. We've got a lot of capital needs at the schools. There's the mold issue. So there's a whole lot of needs in town, and I would really like to see a full conversation about our facilities needs and put this in that context.
So there will be as the budget process moves along.
Except that this is on the vote for you guys to vote on tonight, and so I was just putting forward that I would love to see that in broader context. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I make a comment about the
Yeah.
present to speak issue? This is not the template we usually use for our agenda. This is like the planning and zoning template, I believe. We don't really open up the door to speak agenda item by agenda item, and we don't say I mean, it's obvious that it'll be limited for time. So there's a boilerplate that's like, for instance, this is what we usually do. And then we have a present to speak at the end. So she's right about that.
Okay,
So maybe we could revert back to the
Good.
Board of Finance,
Today. Okay. Did you send
Template.
your template on that?
Sure, you have it. It's from the December. It's from the December meeting,
Okay.
I can just give you that if you want,
No,
but
I-
you want
I-
you want the template, okay,
On Word or top.
yeah, sure.
Okay, so first on new business, we have the final reports related to the fiscal year 2023 audit. Business Manager Donna Latinsix and/or Mike Van de Winter of Mahoney Stable of Glastonbury, Connecticut will be presenting that. Number A on that is annual comprehensive financial report, and then the federal and state single audit, followed by governance letter for members of the Board of Finance, and finally, the December 2023 general fund financial report.
I would like to introduce you all to Mike Vander of Mahoney Stable.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much. Again, my name is Mike Van Deventer, and I'm an audit partner at Mahoney Stable. Ultimately responsible for overseeing the audit and issuing the reports on behalf of the firm. As you had mentioned in the agenda, there are a number of reports that we issue in connection with our work. I think all of you should have received electronic copies of those reports at this point. I did bring some bound copies as well. I won't go through each of those reports in detail. I have a presentation that really summarizes the scope of work, the results of that work, And then it includes our required communication. So I will take you through my presentation and then certainly happy to answer any questions that you may have. So if we can turn to slide 2, in terms of the scope of work, again, no changes from what we've done in prior years. We've done an audit of the town's financial statements. We performed that audit in accordance with both the auditing standards issued by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, as well as the government auditing standards issued by the Government Accountability Office. In addition, based on the level of federal and state funding that was received and expended by the town, we did perform both federal and state single audits. We also perform an agreed upon procedures engagement on the end of school year reports that are filed by the school district with the state of Connecticut Department of Education. In addition to those test services, where we actually issue reports, we do also provide some non-audit services for the town. So we do assist in the preparation of the financial statements, the schedules of federal awards and state financial assistance, as well as the related notes. We also assist in converting your governmental fund financial statements to your government-wide financial statements. In order for the firm to be independent and to be able to perform those services, ultimately management is required to accept responsibility for them. Again, Donna has overseen those services and ultimately has accepted responsibility for them. In connection with our audit, we do issue a number of reports. The main report is the report on the financial statements. We did issue unmodified clean opinions on your financial statements. Again, an unmodified opinion is expressed when we've concluded that the financial statements have been presented fairly in all material respects in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America, and that is as established by the Governmental Accounting Standards. I do like to point out that our opinion does provide reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free from a material misstatement, whether due to error or fraud. We do not provide absolute assurance. We do not test every transaction. We do utilize sampling methodologies in our audit approach. The financials do include estimates, and therefore we cannot provide absolute assurance. In addition to the report on the financial statements, we also issue a report on compliance and on internal control of the financial reporting. In this report, we don't actually express an opinion on your compliance with laws and regulations or on the effectiveness of your internal controls. Essentially, during the course of performing the audit over the financial statements, if we become aware of a material non-compliance with laws and regulations or a material weakness in your internal controls, we are required to include it in this report. Again, we do not report any such matters. In connection with the federal single audit, we issue a report on compliance at the federal award level. In this report, we do actually express an opinion on your compliance with your major federal programs. For fiscal year 2023, the total federal awards that were expended by the town was about 1.8 million. The major program was the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds, which was just $3 million. We did issue unmodified clean opinions on your compliance over that program. Again, we do not report any deficiencies in review of grant compliance. We issue a similar report in connection with the state single audit. For fiscal year 2023, the total state financial assistance that was expended by the town was about 4.2 million. The majority of that is your education cost sharing funds, which is exempt from our testing. The portion that was non-exempt was about 648,000. Your major programs were the County Road Grant Program, tiered payment in lieu of taxes. Again, we did issue unmodified opinions on your compliance over those programs and did not report any deficiencies. So again, from a compliance perspective, it was clean. The primary compliance requirement that we are testing is allowable cost, making sure that you're charging appropriate things to those grants. The next section goes over your financial highlights. Again, financial statements are 150 pages with a lot of financial information in there, a lot of information on your pension and OPEB plan. These slides are really high level, and certainly if we identified any concerns from a financial perspective, we would include it in our communications here. In terms of your general fund on a budgetary basis, so again, the town did plan for the use of fund balance in the amount of 490,000 to balance your revenues and expenditures. Your actual budgetary result was an increase of $512,000. So that did result in an overall favorable budgetary variance of just over $1 million. That surplus was really driven by your revenues. You had favorable collections on property taxes, town clerk fees, conveyance taxes and building permits, as well as investment income. Your expenditures were about $228,000 less than budgeted. Again, no budgetary instances of non-compliance were identified. Next slide goes over your governmental fund financial highlights. So this includes your general fund on a GAAP basis, as well as all of your special revenue and capital project funds. Your combined ending fund balances totaled approximately $7.5 million. That was an overall increase of about $498,000 from the prior year. Of the $7.5 million, the majority is in your general fund that had an ending fund balance of about $4.7 million, which was an increase of about $421,000 from the prior year. $2.5 million was considered unassigned, and that represents about 12.5% or just about a month and a half of your fiscal year 2024 budgetary expenditure appropriations. And again, that does not include the $1 million that you had assigned for use in your fiscal year 2023 budget. Your capital projects fund had an ending fund balance of about $368,000, which was an increase of about $30,000 from the prior year. The American Rescue Plan Fund does not report a fund balance. Any unspent funds are considered unearned until you actually incur the allowable costs. So the town is reporting about $935,000 in grant revenues, which were recognized during fiscal year 2023. And then about $664,000 was reported as unearned revenue. All of your other funds had an ending fund balance of about $2.4 million, which was an increase of about $45,000 from the prior year. Those other funds primarily consist of your reserve for capital non-recurring, which had an ending fund balance of about $501,000. The small city grant fund, which had an ending fund balance of about $795,000. Again, that's primarily in the form of loan receivables, so that's not all spendable. And then your fire and ambulance fund had an ending fund balance of about $592,000. Last slide was over your government-wide financial highlights. So the government-wide financial statements are prepared on a full accrual basis for accounting. It does capture all of your capital assets as well as your long-term liabilities. The focus of the government-wide financial statements are really on your long-term liabilities from a user perspective. Overall, the town is reporting a positive unrestricted net position of about $5.3 million. That's really attributed to your low levels of long-term bonded debt and the status of your pension and OPEB liabilities. Again, many municipalities, if you look at their government-wide financial position, they have a significant deficit in their unrestricted net position, primarily due to unfunded pension liabilities. Overall, the town's pension plan was about 88.9% funded. So you do have a liability of about $74,000. Again, that plan is closed. The discount rate on that was about 7%. And then the town is also reporting another post-employment benefit liability. That reflects the retiree healthcare benefits for eligible employees at the Board of Education. That's currently funded on a pay-as-you-go basis. So again, the town hasn't established a trust like you have for the pension plan. The actuarial determined liability for those benefits totaled about $1.5 million. And again, since you haven't established a trust and you're not investing any funds, you have to use a much lower discount rate when determining your overall liability. The last section just goes over our required communications. And again, there's a separate governance letter that we issue to the board that really includes these communications. The first item here talks about our responsibility under the auditing standards. Again, although we do assist in the preparation of the financial statements, they are the responsibility of town management. All of the information did come from the town. Again, it's our responsibility to perform audit procedures and express our opinion on those financial statements. Happy to report that there were no changes in the overall scope of work or the timing that was originally agreed upon. Again, the reports were filed by the January 4th deadline this year. In terms of significant audit findings, usually communicate any new auditing standard or accounting standards that may have an impact on your financial statements. Again, no new accounting standards were implemented that had a significant impact on the town's financial statements. Again, the financial statements do include some significant estimates and judgments. Those consist of estimated useful lives assigned to your capital assets, as well as discount rates utilized to determine net pension and OPEB liabilities. Again, we did review those. We did deem those estimates to be reasonable and consistent with what other municipalities are doing. Happy to report that we had no significant difficulties encountered in performing the audit. We had no uncorrected statements. So again, any audit adjustments that we may have proposed were reported and reflected in the financial statements. We had no disagreements with management. We did obtain a representation letter. Again, no unusual representations were requested. I just give you an example. If we were unable to substantiate a transaction and we were relying on the representation of say, Donna, we would communicate that to the board. We're not aware of any consultations by management with any other independent accountants. Again, if you did, that's a required communication for us. So again, that's our communications with respect to the annual audit. Again, happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Anybody have any questions for Mike?
Anything that stands out that you can put us in context with other towns in the region? Like, are we doing better than average, or, something that gives us a little insider kind of knowledge about how you see our audit this year?
From a conduct perspective or from like a financial perspective?
Well, I think our conduct's probably pretty swift, isn't it?
Yes, it's actually very good. We have limited audit adjustments. Again, once we come out to do the audits, everything is provided to us in a timely manner. We did actually have a written management letter this year. We have one comment over capital assets. Again, not significant enough to report to the board, but there was a separate letter that we issued regarding capital assets. So that's something that we'll work with Donna and her team on getting the system updated for some differences between what is reported in the financial statements and in the new accounting system.
Overall, fiscal health as a municipality and our status as a borrower. Can you talk about that at all?
Yeah, I mean, you're a small community. You have, an appropriate fund balance, which doesn't necessarily include your capital reserves as well. So the GFOA, you're familiar with the GFOA, they put out guidance for all municipalities. They recommend that you maintain 2 months of reserves on hand. Again, your general fund with the $1 million that have been assigned for fiscal year 24 was about 1.5 months. And then again, you have some capital reserves as well.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Any other guidance for acceptable debt level that we go on to? We're facing some large projects, so.
Right. I think typically I see most debt service being less than 10% of your total budget. Again, yours is, I'm not quite sure what yours is right now, but it's significantly low. But it doesn't take a lot, in a small community to get above that 10% level.
Yeah.
If we go down acceptance report.
I don't know if do we vote on this, Donna? Should
I
we?
don't think this is an action item for the board to vote on.
Yeah, it's just kind of here now.
We'll need to sign a letter later, right? Isn't there some kind of letter that accepts it or something?
We signed the letter in the beginning.
Oh, in the beginning.
Before.
Yeah, from the audit process, I mean, sometimes boards will accept the financial statements to say, okay, we've been presented with it, we've reviewed it, we're accepting it. You can't really approve it because it's already been issued. So it's really kind of a management document. But again, I don't think it's necessarily required.
Thank you. So the next item is, December 2023 general fund financial report. And Donna, you're presenting that.
Could I just ask you, are we skipping old business?
You know what? I saw that. I'm gonna go back to it after we've done the
Alright.
businesses in the middle of.
Okay.
What happened to what's in the finance one?
They're gonna do that.
Okay, the December financial report is the usual one-page report of revenue and expenditures. And the revenue is doing well. Investment income, we budgeted 50,000. At the end of December, we earned 109,000. No, scratch that, 159,000. So we're 109,000 more than budgeted. The license fees and permits are heading to be over budget in the revenue. And that's due to conveyance tax. So things are well in the revenues. Expenditures, no concerns at this time.
Any questions for Donna?
You know, under other revenues, is that,
Yes.
you know, so we have like about, we're halfway through the year, we have like. A third, you know, we've got like a third left to pick up there right on the budget. I mean, our actual 2/3 actually, we're budgeted that we're expecting 38, about 37,800,
Yes,
and we've got
yes.
13.
Yes.
Those, are those backloaded in the year?
They are backloaded. One thing in miscellaneous is the telecommunications grant, and that comes in April.
Any other questions? All right, next we are moving on to a CIP appropriation request from the reserve fund for engineering and design for a new fire station at 25 Old Farms Road. We're going to be discussing that, Peter.
Yes, thank you. This is a budget item that's already passed through CIP and the budget. What we need to do is we need to have a town meeting for expenditure. So what we're asking for you to do is to send a request to the Board of Selectmen for a town meeting. This is the 110,000. Yes.
There it is.
Thank you. For engineering and surveying over at 25 Old Farms Road. This is an important piece to get started because we're in the process of figuring out all of our fire response picture. Placement, response times, the whole 9 yards. So this is an important part, and this has already been approved. So what we're just asking for is a call to the Board of Selectmen to call town meeting. Any questions?
To appropriate.
I have a
Sure.
question. Why was 100,000 approved and we're asking for 110?
I thought it was 110 that was approved.
I look at the background and the documentation I got, it says 100,000.
I think that may be a typo.
You know what it is? She's-
It's 110,000 in
We've got
CIP.
we've got the CIP chair right here.
I see 110,000 in the plan.
Yeah,
Do you see it,
yeah,
Christine?
it was
Yes,
110.
it's 110,000.
That's your answer, Walter. It's a typo.
Okay.
Yeah, is it the background for this is kind of because Willington One has done some design and engineering already, has preliminary plans or whatever you call them.
Right.
And the hill isn't
isn't as
isn't
far
the
along,
case with that.
right?
So my understanding was it was kind of a catch-up
It's a
idea.
catch-up idea, and that's exactly right, however. Problems have overcome us
Events are
because
overtaking
events
us.
are overtaking us where Willington won, then lost their building. So they are moving as quickly as they can to get their people indoors. And so we need to get this moving over here at 25 Old Farms to make sure we're not duplicating efforts and make sure that the whole process is seamless. So not only did we appropriate this money to catch up, but we need it now so that we can start to catch up. Or at least be on the same page.
Where are we in context though with the stats that sort of give us overall emergency service coverage context of calls and all that, that study that you guys, I thought you were
We
queuing up
asked
for before
for-
this hit.
We asked for the money from the previous Board of Selectmen and it was turned down. So we've got to re-prepare that to rebuild that report or get the money for that report. There's also some indication that we may be able to get that report for less money if we can figure it out for ourselves. So what I'm doing is I'm getting a small committee together to put all this stuff together in one place so that people can see what's going on. I don't want to keep selling this piecemeal all the way through and make everybody put it together. I want one packet, one presentation. So this would help with that. This is gonna forward us towards that.
And then
Is it
can
really
you,
though?
Yeah, is it really?
Is it really?
I hate to lob the
We're
grenade,
hoping.
you know.
We are hoping. What we're doing is we're making an effort to get there. And the chief and the president of Willington Hill are here that we are now working more in concert to try to move this whole project forward.
I think it's important to maybe hear, before we talk about context of other needs in the town, rather than do it as a silo thing, I think it's important to hear from you guys about what exactly this design stage would cover. What do you want to know? Are you doing building construction? Are you doing landscape construction kind of idea, or, you
So
know,
no construction, so what this will get us to
I mean,
is,
engineering?
this will answer basically all the questions, how much is it gonna cost, will everything fit on the property? It's gonna get us to where we know that we can either move forward or not move forward. But it's gonna prepare the property in terms of surveying boundaries, marking all that out. It's gonna conform to the land use, they're gonna check all that to see where things have to be placed. It gets us to a preliminary design on a building that we can place on the property on paper to see all these things, make sure they'll all work. And maybe we have to tweak it afterwards with building size or things like that. But it gets you, and then it also gets you to where you have a number. And we can say, okay, this project can be built here. Doesn't have to be this big, this big. This is the one that was gonna fit there. And this is how much it'll cost. Then we can move forward with a lot of concerns that people are having about the whole project. We have to get to this point because we have no idea, again, whether it's gonna be a 10,000 square foot building or a 100,000 square foot building. It will be somewhere in between, but, you know, we have to get through this phase to determine that.
And are you factoring in access from both Old Farms Road and 74 in that surveying and planning?
Yes.
Is that a part of this?
That'll be part of the civil engineering, yes. Yep. Septic, you know, all the borders and how far away from the curbs you have to be, and what driveways can be put where and all that stuff. Yeah, it'll all be defined after this phase of the project. Next phase of the project, when it goes forward, is design the actual building, the actual construction prints. And then, you know, hash through that, so the building that will fit, as I spoke of earlier. We would move forward to the next phase, which would be, again, construction drawings. Mechanical, electric, you know, electrical, HVAC, you know, all that stuff to show that, okay, this is what is gonna fit in the building. And, it would actually be the building that we'll come up with a price on through this phase. So.
And do you do bids before, have you already gotten quotes or are you?
So, yeah, we've reached out to several, contractors who, will do all this work, the civil engineering, the architectural engineering, and, the civil engineering. And we've reached out to several, and it's come back to where, we have a number and a contractor that we, would like to use that will do all this work. And it comes in at right around the same price as what we're asking to move forward with. And again, that'll get us to where we have all the answers on the project. As to what size the building needs to be, can be, if we can fit everything in there that we need to get done. And then it would give us the estimate of the cost of the whole project. As we're doing that, like Peter said, that we're going to be, moving forward to try and put together all the information to, figure out where exactly and how big and what appropriations are needed for all the fire departments in town, in conjunction with the other departments.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to, it's not really a question, it's more of a, yes, it was included in the CIP plan, but it wasn't approved. That's what we need to do now, right? And it was included because at the time, if you go back a year ago, we were in a different place. We have already spent hundreds of thousands of dollars over years on the designs and engineering for the other fire department, which we now know is out the window, I think, just garbage that we wasted money on. So are we about to waste another $100,000? And I'm afraid because we've never had a comprehensive plan, and I know you're working on it. It's been in the works for 15, 20 years, and we still don't know where we're at. So I just feel like it's a little premature because just like with the schools, you have to we go into this for the schools, it was ed specs, right? You need to know, do I want an auditorium? How many classrooms do I need? For this, you need to know that too. I mean, we don't know what we want there.
You're absolutely right. I give you that.
Okay.
This gets us that much closer to what you want for that plan. I'm already working on getting people together to build that plan. I've got cooperation between both departments right now, and I'm hoping to keep that cooperation between both departments right now. I'm finding, members of the community that can, help that process along. And, I believe we're on the right track. If I can't convince you of that, then we're gonna have to go back to square one and start again.
And I understand your concerns, but the need doesn't go away. You know, I mean, you guys have been through our firehouses, you know, they're all old, they're overcrowded, they have no, safety facilities, they have no clean air facilities, they have none of that. And so the need doesn't go away, it's just getting worse and being compounded as we wait. Especially with the new mandates and legislation that are coming through with carcinogens and cancer requirements and all that stuff. All this stuff has to happen. And it can't happen in the building we're in. It's same with down there, and I don't want to speak for the other department, but in conversation with, on the whole project here, the town's fire services, a lot of the money hasn't been wasted. They did do survey of the property, they still have that. They did do civil engineering of the property, they still have that, and it can be used. Some of the building design, I guess, is gonna be changing, obviously, but that's the part of it that, not the whole ball of wax that, all the funding that was given to them down there. It was put to good use, where they know where they can put a septic tank, they know where they can put.
Yeah.
All that stuff it's still gonna hold strong.
That's true, that is true. I take that part back.
And I thought.
But none of the rest of it.
And this did go through the whole process of the town vote and all that stuff, and this was approved, 110,000 was approved in the referendum.
Well, it was approved to be earmarked. And to come out of Fund 4, that's what it was approved for. And that's why we have to go through this step now, because it wasn't technically appropriated.
Right. Wasn't
That's-
appropriate.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the CIP is not the end all be all. Never was, never will.
Right.
Like I said, this is a requirement to get us closer to the plan that everybody seems concerned with. What's needed, where it's needed, how much it's gonna cost, all that stuff. I mean, we have to survey the property, we have to go through the whole 9 yards.
Gotta just clarify, this isn't for the upcoming, January 23rd town meeting. This is for,
This is for after that.
Yet
yeah,
another
This
town
can't get in on the 23rd town meeting, that one's already been called.
just wanna be sure.
Any other questions?
You want to, I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, you still count 6,000 people with 2 separate fire departments. I mean, where do you?
But 1 or 6, it doesn't.
I know,
matter.
I know.
You still need the appropriate equipment.
You gotta have, I know, but you're still,
The equipment
you're
won't
still in the
change.
same spot.
The equipment won't change, the locations won't change, whether you make it 1 or 6 fire departments, it doesn't matter. That's been proven.
Right.
So
Yeah, they might, but
facilities are needed, the equipment's needed.
that's all true. I guess I've been living here. Mike's got his hand up.
Somebody else.
Mike McCoo has, and Jim Marshall.
Well, Mike's on the fire department.
Oh. Do you want?
Hey, Mike,
Yes.
you have anything to add?
Yes, Mike Magoo, Willington Hill Fire Department. One other factor I just wanted to make sure we illuminate here in this conversation is myself, the chiefs of both departments, and the former first select woman and selectman Tanaka have all had multiple conversations with Joe Courtney, Tammy Nuccio, Jeffrey Gordon, about if there were potential other funding sources such as allocations from the state and federal government. And all of those conversations have brought back one comment consistently, that we needed to be a little further along in understanding what we needed. And the last conversation with Joe Courtney was, it's great that the fire department spent their saved money to buy the piece of property on Old Farms Road. It gets you closer to what the government loves to call shovel ready. And if we just had some design and some layout to show, then his office and the local, again, Nuccio and Gordon's offices would be able to take those plans and start putting them into potential state and federal funding streams, request streams, not guarantees, of course. So this $110,000 would produce enough design and enough engineering to pair with the fact that the property is already owned by the fire department to put us into those request streams. So I think that's another important angle to consider. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. James Marshall, you had a question?
Yeah, hi, everybody. I guess what I wanted to say here is I'm surprised that I'm a little concerned that the focus is related to 25 Old Farms Road, given the urgency of the Station 1 situation. And I wonder, and maybe Mr. Tanaka can speak to this, but is this waiting for the study going to prevent or delay the mobilization of proposals for design services for Station 1? Because that need is urgent, along with many other needs in town. The schools, we got leaks in this building, a pipe burst in Center, I believe, again on Tuesday. So I just wonder whether these resources wouldn't be better served addressing the urgent needs in town and getting that really ground running, because there's going to be a redesign effort and you're 2 years out for that. I just don't want to see Station 1 delayed by another year waiting for Willington Hill to catch up. So
we are concentrating as a group to not hold up Willington 1. That is one of our main concerns, is not holding up Willington 1. But until we can figure out the programmatic needs of both departments and where things are gonna be, it's gonna hold up Station Willington 1. We don't know what needs to be built there until we figure out what can be built at Willington Hill, so that we're not duplicating efforts. We don't want to rush so fast that we're not spending appropriately or intelligently. And this is what's gonna figure out some of those programmatic needs in one. We are not gonna be able to have one for this, and I've made that promise to, Chief Moore.
Yeah, I mean, but as they are two separate stations, is there really gonna be that much programmatic overlap that it would delay you're basically duplicating Willington One's program in a new
Well,
facility down the line?
Right, there's a lot of programs that we don't need to duplicate. For instance, we don't need emergency operations centers at both places. We don't need gear cleaning equipment at both places. We don't need, breathing apparatus refill stations at both places. We don't need a classroom at both places. These are things that we want to make sure that we're not building two of each. And we won't know that until we have an overall plan, and I'm working with Mike and Tom and Alex to make sure that doesn't happen, but until we have the information, it's hard to write a report on that.
Is there a timeline? Is there a timeline on this study?
Well, pardon me?
Is there a timeline on this initial study?
Not a timeline on the study yet, because it's starting next week. So we should have a timeline for you soon.
Okay, it's just without that knowledge, I mean, you're realistically gonna be 4 to 6 months out, and that's just another 4 to 6 months where you could be designing a new station one.
Well, we plan on designing station one while we're moving along. It's very much a problem that station one had the problems it had, and that we can't do this in a slow and deliberate way, but without the information, we can't do it at all. That's
Fair enough. I look forward to seeing what comes out of it.
I
Thank
do too.
So that just reminded me that, so the plans that Station One has is for the addition,
Right,
which, you know, maybe some of the footprint things, maybe the, you know, basic things we know and we can reuse, but they're gonna need new plans.
yes, they are.
So, and we have not planned for that expenditure. And that's probably gonna be another 100 or 200, like
Yes.
soon. Like in a few weeks, maybe soon, right?
I wish I knew that. I'm trying to gather the information. I haven't
But
been
in
in
this-
this job long enough to
In
get all
this
that.
fiscal year soon, how about that?
I would hope, but I can't. We got held up some months because of the drainage problem and not getting that figured out as quickly as we could have or should have. I don't know what my proper adjective there is.
Yeah,
Why
Go ahead.
can't this wait to go through the regular budget process?
It
This is
went
the
through,
budget
it went through the
process.
regular budget process, and that's why we're coming to you now. This would be the next step in the process.
I think the question is sort of like the order of things, it sounds like, because, you know, to me, having that information from what I call the heat map, which is the information on calls and the information on, I mean, we're what are we, 38 square miles or something like that, right? We're a big town, small population. We're like twice the size of Hartford proper. People don't realize that, except for Public Works, they know it, and so do the gentleman here. It's a lot to cover, so that's part of the expense, that's in my mind, part of why there's 3 stations, if you count the south station. In town, because it's a lot of turf to cover. So that data, which we see, seems to have been elusive all these years we've been talking about addressing emergency services, is really key. I'm all for not being tangential and going step by, you know, like maybe, you know, trying to work on equal courses, but I am kind of like the Willington One question to me. I don't know that I buy that that's like a big build and you know, like in short order in the same year kind of thing. I feel like we've already taken some steps to address the clear and present need with the ambulance staff and using the facilities we already have to address that. Yes, there's, you know, I haven't seen anything that's really nailed down about what the situation is with renovate versus new construction and how quickly that should work. I mean, there's just like so many moving parts here. That I think that's what people are getting confused about the order of things. But I do know that because I've been on CIP since Moses was a baby, it's like, I do understand that the Hill is kind of behind in terms of, since they purchased the property, which I personally think was visionary. Catching up with what some of the plans are for that property, so I get that. It's just, we have so many things. And by the way, when this was put in the CIP, that was before the referendum on solving our school issues. So we've still got the school issues hanging in the balance, because now that we're not building a new K-8, we've got a lot of repairing to do on a 100-year-old building and a 75-year-old building. Not to mention the water coming through right over there in the town hall, so. I know, it's kind of dreary.
Again, like we said earlier, though, I mean, this Willington One is working on their plan to get a solid picture for everybody. And that's what we're doing as well. Get a solid picture. It's not as confusing as it seems, maybe from our end, as we're trying to figure out what finances will work and which size of the building will work, all that stuff. But again, to get to where it will give the town a good picture of the emergency services needs, these are steps that have to take place. And I mean, I know there's a lot of other needs, like we all know that in town here, but again, we've been asking for money for a firehouse since probably 2005, maybe before that. And we got some money set aside, but then it was used on something else to start looking for land. This is way prior to when we had land.
Right.
So the needs are always there, they just keep growing. And to push one off to because of the other is not gonna help anything. And this, like I said, will give you the picture of both departments. And like I said, Peter's big collectively putting the whole project together, so it fits into the town's vision,
I think the Willington One structure is like 40 years old, something like that.
Something like
Is that
that.
right? How old is yours?
Still in 52.
Older than me.
And like I said, I don't know, I can't speak for Alex, but I think in talking with him again, some of the things will be able to be reused, the civil engineering, and things like that, the surveying. And I think what he said was there is still money that was already appropriated that will probably be sufficient for a redesign on paper. But again, I can't 100%, say that's accurate, but in the conversations that we've had, so again. And there was concerns of any delays. I think, like Peter alluded to, that we can work in conjunction with the survey, we can work in conjunction with Willington One and move forward with the project. And if this allocation is approved, then within the 6 months, we could have the information that's necessary. We could get as soon as I wouldn't want to start surveying in February, but, probably in when the weather starts to break, March, April, somewhere in there, to go ahead and get everything started on the whole project.
Any other questions or discussion?
Yes, this is Walter Parcell. So prior to drawing up any plans, if this money were appropriated and voted on, you would have a plan on what you want to do in each of these two facilities? Because it sounds like right now you don't know which one's going to have training rooms, which one's going to have different facilities. So,
Well, there's a few things like Peter alluded to that we are gonna work together to make sure they don't duplicate. At this point, do we have it narrowed down exactly? No, but this step in the game will get us to that point where we could say, okay, a meeting room will not fit at 25 Old Farms Road, but it will fit there. That kind of, in the engineering, the architectural engineering, the surveying of the land. So we are going to make sure that we don't duplicate as much as possible to make sure that, the money is well spent, like Peter said, We're not gonna, that's why the projects are going together and have been going together from the beginning. So that everything is put together as an emergency services package as opposed to two separate altogether packages.
Jeff, earlier you said we have two departments. And why do we have two departments?
Well, that's,
But
I know we're not gonna solve that. You're better to chance bringing the health and it's real.
yeah,
Maybe.
that may be a given. That we may not bring the two departments under
No,
one command, so to speak, but we can bring them up together under one mission and make sure that they're working to the best they can together, to make sure they're serving Willington best.
well, yeah, that's right.
That's the whole idea of this.
I just to interrupt, but you know, we are basically one department for the town. We
I
work
know.
together, we respond together, we get along together, we train together. The only difference is on paper, there's two separate teams and two separate budgets, which again, will not change.
Two separate cultures and.
Well,
Two
because-
separate bills.
Two separate bills.
But again, it will not
Because-
change. It won't change anything. The insurance, we looked
Right.
into the insurance.
4 years ago, I looked
Change.
into
Yeah.
bringing the
The needs are still
the
there.
sides together and it was pretty clear that wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you that, you've gotten along a hell of a lot better than things historically have been. That's a given. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna get into some of that.
no, we don't.
And
need to
I'm not,
go into that.
I've never even been involved in either one of them, just a
Right,
casual observer.
There's a perception out there that may not be as accurate as people think.
Well,
Like I said, we do work together, we train together.
You know where
We have
I'm going.
different opinions, but.
You know where I'm going with this?
Yes, finances won't change though. Like I said, with 2 or 5 or 6 departments, one department, finances will not change. The need for equipment won't change, the budgets won't change. The insurances won't change. We've already looked into all this stuff, year after year after year. We've been doing it for, I don't know how many years. You're looking into what may save or what may be the benefit, other than, again, and we've even come to the Board of Capital Improvement Committee and the Board of Finance with one plan instead of separate plans. I mean, it's essentially, you know, there's no difference and there's no reason to define it as 2 departments.
Within the last year, we've gotten them on the same accounting method so that everything falls under the same item numbers, descriptions, and so that both treasurers are working with the same books. So things aren't spread out differently. That, when I was sitting on your side of the table, that's what I found annoying, was that pagers were called office equipment on one side, radios on the other. Now they're all the same. Hopefully, we're working
Is it the
ever
same
more
brand?
diligently towards that goal.
Is it the same brand though?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, it is.
most of it, yeah.
It's the same brand and interoperable.
They don't give you any savings, whether you buy one of the same brand or 5 of the same brand, they're still the same.
Yeah,
price.
but you know how to fix them,
Yes, yeah.
And if one breaks, you can use the other department's equipment. And
right?
yes, we've been working on that for 4 years.
And again, just going back, the needs are detrimental for both departments. I mean, you've been through ours, we have no clean space. We come back from a fire call with all the carcinogens that are gear covered with soot and everything else. We have to bring it into where we sit and watch TV. We have no clean space. We have no place to separate that. We have no way to separate the clean air. We have 6 trucks in 5 bays that we have to work the trucks in so we can get in there and you have to pull out to let people in the other side of a couple of them. So, I mean, it's just, these things are just, again, we've been asking for money for fire departments and stuff to solve these problems since way back when, 2005-ish. And here we are still.
I just have one more thing, kind of going with what Jeff was saying. So we understand that we need 2 fire departments. We understand why this needs to be done, all of that. But eventually, the goal is going to be to go before the town and ask for 15 million.
It's 11.5 right
Yeah, 11.5 right now. Who knows what it
now.
will be?
It never goes down as you go.
And the town is gonna say,
Only gonna-
why do we need 2? And they haven't been sitting in these meetings for 20 years.
That
Listening,
goes back to Stephanie's heat map question.
right.
And we
That
asked for the
case-
money for the heat map,
Mhm.
month and a half, no. Last October, I believe we asked for heat map.
Yeah.
Because that just came up, there's a new federal program for heat maps. I don't remember what it stands for, it's where your calls are and putting your station next to things that. Putting your station where the problems are. And, like we found out already, I mean. When station 1 went down, station 13 went down, the people whose house insurance on the north end of town. They weren't renewing it because we didn't have a fire department close enough to their house. So that was one of the primary drivers of getting that station reheated and manned with a trailer. It was getting people towards that end of town.
It's response time, and the buildings, and to answer your question, I keep saying the same thing, people wanna know why there's 2 fire departments. Again, it's just on paper, there's 2 fire departments, everything will still be needed.
Right,
Geographically, location wise, there's been study after study, as you know,
yeah,
that say that, you know, the stations are placed where they should be placed in town.
Yeah, that's the station, it's not the managerial thing.
But I mean, again, that does not do anything
Well-
to, again, it's just a title of, okay, there's 2 fire departments, there's no savings, there's no, you know, eliminating 1 fire building, there's no, you know, there's no changes.
We really need to do a retreat in the town, invite the whole town, do a retreat. Have the discussion once and for all, because I get the 2 cultures, I understand the 2 cultures.
Yeah, I do too.
And-
I'm not
and
saying
being a
it's.
member on being on the Board of Finance, Jeff, I want to say for one, and being from a city of 1.5 million and coming here, I very much appreciate that there's a huge group of, it's all volunteer at the Hill, and there are volunteers at
I
both.
never would.
And
doubt that. I would
so
never-
we do not deal with any payroll for our emergency services, which are vast, even though
That's
we're a
all
small
very true,
town,
yes.
you know? So I feel like, okay, I kind of get it, because the juice is, how do you keep volunteers motivated? And they are self-motivating, but it's also important to have it work so that they want to keep signing up and they want to keep going to calls at 2 in the
I
morning.
don't discount anybody's service at all, we've used the.
I know you don't, I just think it's not the same, it's not the same ballgame, I get it.
Anyway,
and I'm just saying that the case has to be made, and it has to be
Mhm.
pretty buttoned up, and you know, it's, the first part is, we need 2. And then the next part is, and we need this one to have this stuff, and we need this one to have this stuff. And this is how much it costs, and this is why your taxes are gonna go up to pay for it. All of that has to be communicated in 1 sentence, and this is gonna happen soon.
An elevator speed,
That's what I'm trying-
yeah.
That's what we're trying to get to,
Yeah.
like I said
That's
earlier.
exactly where I've been trying to get to, because I
Okay,
fully realize that I don't have to sell, I have to sell not only this board, but I have to sell the 6,000 people in this town who pay taxes.
right,
And I understand that, and I'm stealing ideas from everybody I can on how to get there. It's gonna take me 2 or 3 weeks, that's all. I mean, we've been working on this for 15 years, give me 3 weeks.
Yeah, and right in the middle of the decline and fall of American journalism too, it's pretty hard to get the word out about details like this.
Yes. I understand now, Stephanie, that the Willimantic Chronicle comes out of Providence.
is that right?
They're all,
Yeah, they just send it electronically from Willimantic to Providence, they print it in Providence and mail it to Connecticut.
and the JI's coming by mail, so all their news is a day late, yeah. I got it.
And again, we just can't get to the answers that everybody's looking for without.
Without
Yeah,
this study. Yes.
so is there a motion?
Is there anything else? No other questions, so what they're asking for is an appropriation request from the Federal Reserve Fund for engineering and design for a new fire station at 25 Old Farms Road. And does anybody want to put up a motion to vote on this?
Do we have one of these?
I'm gonna move that,
Oh, you got it, Stephanie?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna move that we recommend that the Board of Selectmen call a town meeting to appropriate 110,000 from the reserve fund to account number 04-4053 for design and engineering plans for fire station for Willington Hill Fire Department on the 25 Old Farms Road property.
Do we have a second?
I'll give you the benefit of the doubt there.
Second.
You like that?
Yeah.
Please say to do a roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Any discussion?
Is there any further discussion? No.
Okay, great. Ms. Malhouse,
No,
Mr. Lawler,
No.
Ms. Summers,
Yes,
Mr. Prusa,
Yes.
Mr. Parcell,
No.
Mr. Ross.
Yes.
it's a draw.
Yeah. 3-3.
Motion fails. Motion fails, either we keep arguing about it, or we come with an alternative, or nothing. So.
Pete, can you keep moving on that study though?
I will, I believe it's a $30,000 study, and so we may be coming to you for the $30,000 and hopefully get a better response. So, yeah.
That's my hang up. I want to see more detail.
yeah,
Okay,
same. So, sell me on the two department concept first.
all right.
I'm channeling what would happen to me at where I work if I didn't have enough detail when I went to ask for money at corporate. It wouldn't be good.
All right, so now we're moving on to number 4 on the agenda.
Just, we were just gonna possibly going to have them.
Add the doors.
Jonathan, we said it, yeah, we got, after, it was like at 1 o'clock, we got a Public Works. Troy, I know Troy's not here, but I don't know if anybody can speak to that, if you wanna add.
I can speak to
Do you want to?
Well, that-
We don't have to add it to the agenda.
it. I would like to, well, now that the last one didn't pass, this one isn't as urgent because it's gonna try to get them both into the town meeting, at the same town meeting and save the towns some money, but we've got to move on
Alright,
the
so-
door, so now
So
we're gonna.
just help me out for a second, what is it?
The
Doors at the
big
public
overhead
works.
doors and the
All right,
public
I'll
works,
make a- can I make-
trucks in and out.
Can I make a motion that we add, Public Works, request to the agenda?
Okay.
I'll second it.
Gonna take a roll call on that?
Yes. Roll call vote, Ms. Summers,
Yes,
Ms. Malhouse.
Yes.
Mr. Parcell,
Yes.
Mr. Ross,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
and Mr. Prusa.
Yes.
And that is unanimous.
I'm on, all right. This is a project that comes from the previous administration, so I don't have a full speech on it. However, there's LoCIP money that's been appropriated or passed through CIP that we're looking for an appropriation to replace the overhead doors at the Public Works Department so we can get the trucks in and out. That's all I got. Troy says we need new doors.
Christina, do you remember when we did the walkthrough over there with CIP?
Yep.
They said that sometimes they sort of like raise
Hang
up
on.
and they can't get them, I don't know, they can't get them up and down in the right way, and there's
Yeah.
basically that they've got that one building and it's just, it just gets really cold in there and
Yep.
it's weird.
And I
The
think that
real-
the new doors would have windows too, that would,
Yeah.
provide natural light, which is a good thing.
Being able to see while driving a big truck, good idea. Hopefully. My mother-in-law didn't know that. Drove right through hers.
And the price tag's about 72,000.
71,950. Anybody have any questions for Peter regarding this? You have anything more you want to say regarding it, Peter?
So the doors work, they're just kind of janky.
Yes, as far as I know, I wish I could provide more information on that. But this was something that was deemed necessary through both the public works and the previous board of selectmen to pass it through. It passed through CIP and it's coming out of LoCIP funds, I believe.
It had been on the plan a couple of years at
Yeah.
least.
Just 4 days?
I thought it was five doors.
They just got a fifth dump truck, right?
Any other discussion or questions regarding this? So they're asking for us to consider a recommendation that the Board of Selectmen call a town meeting to appropriate $71,950 from LOCIP to account number 02-207, Department of
No,
Public
it's
Works.
2027. You're making a motion.
02-2027.
Yeah.
Department of Public Works overhead garage doors for 5 new overhead doors at the Public Works garage. Anybody wanna put it to vote? Motion to vote?
Is that, are you moving it? Are you making a motion?
No, I'm asking if anybody wants to make a motion.
Oh, okay, I'll move that. I'll so move what you just said. Is that
I'll
okay?
second.
Second,
Okay, a roll call vote. Mr. Prusak,
Yes.
Ms. Malhouse,
Yes.
Mr. Ross,
Yes.
Mr. Parcell,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
yes.
and Ms. Summers. Yes, and that's unanimous.
And next on the agenda, under new business, we have a CIP and ARPA update from Christina Miller.
Yeah, so, I just sent out this letter today. Because we tried to do this annually since the ARPA commission was started to do an update. And, the good news is we're getting towards the end. And Donna helped me out and make sure I was using the right numbers, which I did have a couple of them wrong, so that was good. But basically, the letter I sent to you all is, just sums it up of what has been completed so far and what is still in progress and what, is still on our possible list of funding. And the summary on the back tells you where we are. So we got $1.735454.22 to use on these very specific things. We had different categories we could use to spend it on. And tried to use it in the most efficient way possible. We tried to cover some CIP items with it as best we could, and then use it in ways that would get back to the whole community. And, it's been a long process. So that's how much money there was. So far, $1,040,351.33 has been spent on projects that are done. There's probably a little bit more that's been spent on projects that haven't been, that are halfway through being spent, but that's what's done. There's $572,617, no, sorry, $500,617,000 that is in progress. So hopefully, as time goes on, that number will just keep getting smaller. We're encouraging all the people who were given funding to complete their projects. there's a couple of projects that are like tied to a budget and like the senior center coordinator or the summer camp supplement, which was a multi-year step down plan, and this is the last year of it, I think, so those will naturally spend out. Others might come in under budget. They might come in under by $1 or a couple $1,000s in some cases, but others were a little concerned might actually need more money because they're not at a point where we can say with surety that there's enough money there. One is the River Road project. They were awarded $220,000 and we don't actually have a project estimate yet. So hopefully that is enough money for that. If not, there is $40,000 in contingency. And then at some point over the next year, because the deadline is December 31st, we need to decide what we're doing with the remaining money. And put it somewhere. So for our two choices are the library gutters and downspouts, which is also a CIP request, and the center school playground resurfacing or surfacing for $90,000. We don't have enough money to do both of those right now. We probably won't have enough money to do both of those by the time we know either, but we're just gonna have to decide what to do. So I guess stay tuned. It's gonna be easier to follow along now because we've gotten over some major hurdles. We have a lot of them closed now. So yeah, so that's the ARPA update. Does anybody have any questions on that?
The only thing I was wondering is for the future, is it possible to capture the ongoing costs that we've started in ARPA that will go over into our operating budget, i.e. the senior center staff that used to be 100% volunteer, now it's a 25-hour-a-week position. I'd just like to, at some point, I don't know that it's pertinent for this budget season, but is it?
I think it will be, because
24,
that one in
25.
particular, it's stepping down, right?
Yes.
Like the first year was 100% funded, and then this year.
Okay, this is the
50%.
0 year.
So, yeah,
I mean, the budget we'll be putting together, yeah.
right, so it's,
If we could capture that, I mean, I know that it's gonna come through on, I hope, on the presentations, but just, it might be good to see the whole number of the sort of, because most of these, I know you guys really focused on being, doing projects that were self-contained, like the second ambulance and some of and the radios for all the fire personnel, but other things is going to have a gift that keeps on giving.
right.
To the
And we
taxpayer.
really, we tried to avoid that too,
Yeah.
in as many places as we could. Yeah, we'll see how to capture that.
Thanks.
You have a question for Christina regarding the report?
It's a lot of work.
And then my other report is just CIP, which, I sent in the email to you all, but, we had our first meeting last night where we actually heard requests. And, it was requests from the Conservation Commission, land use, and the library. And the next meeting is not next week, it's the week after on the 31st, and that's where we're gonna hear from, Public Works. So that should be an interesting one. The projects were due on Tuesday, and I was able to download the full list into a spreadsheet that I'm gonna share with everybody once I sort it. One of the highlights or lowlights, depending on how you look at it, is that there's $16 million in requests for the schools over the next 5 years. Like 4 million just for next year, which is like roofs and HVAC and things like that. So that will be important to understand. And then the fire departments have the the 11.5 million in there. All in all, it adds up to $35 million over the next 5 years, if we were to fund everything 100%. So I'm not sure we've ever seen numbers like that in the request phase. So we're gonna have some work to do to figure it out. So that's it.
Is there anything in there for town hall renovations, or I'm
No.
talking about town office building?
No,
Town hall.
there's no,
The only thing is the building department's request is for town hall improvement. So that all the water that's pouring off the roof isn't pouring into their office. Apparently that upsets them.
yeah.
Imagine-
The swimming and wading around their desk was getting old.
And I think we figured out their request, they're gonna need that money sooner than next year. And Pete, that you might be
I'm
able to
already
find
working
some.
with an engineer on figuring it out and it. Looking at it on the surface, it may not be as much as we think it's gonna be, but then there probably will be. Just- It's a municipal job, it costs money.
When it rains, water's going into that office.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be right. Did it do any damage to the new flooring and land use?
Not
We
yet.
don't,
That's a big
not yet,
concern.
they did a public works, did yeoman's work, borrowing equipment. Buying some small new equipment to get it dry and it's getting really pretty dry in there now. They've moved back in, that's a good sign. But there's no use in even looking at that until we stop the water for next time. Part of the problem we had was we had 3 major rain events. That we really haven't had to deal with that kind of rain in that short period of time for a while. And we had 3 of them back to back, including one with snowback stuff. Back push building. So. Hopefully, we're mitigating it until we can make a bigger fix. Ralph Tools came over today to see if there was some foundation engineering. Suggestions he could make. We
It's just
slow down
kind
the
of-
water.
Unlucky or whatever that it hit the most newly renovated part of the building,
Oh, of course.
you know? Yeah.
Murphy has his ways.
There any other questions regarding the CIP report? All right, so the next item that we have on the agenda under new business is vote to impanel BOF CIP delegates as well as other BOF delegates as needed for other department negotiations.
So. I mean, besides you, the only one, the other. We're still in the middle of Region 19.
That's, but
Is that over?
we're not sure, I don't know.
I'm not really sure what this time is. It
But it was Jim.
It was Jim.
was Jim, yeah.
And I don't know for sure about the other, like the fire department union negotiations too, which I don't think anybody has been impaneled to that.
The town union negotiations haven't started.
No, not that, the
Region.
union, the ambulance union.
Oh, yeah, that,
We've asked for months to
Town of
let us
Union.
know so we can have some.
But that's another one. The town of Union one is another one.
The town of Union is another one.
yeah, we're, yeah, that's something else I've got to move on, and I apologize.
Can we just find out when that contract is, you know, like what the, cause we don't even know
I-
when it's open for negotiation, when it, you know, what, is it a 3-year, when, we don't know any of the
For
particular.
the town of Union,
No, for our town's
Oh.
emergency services workers that are in a union. The payroll guys.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it,
Can I jump in real quick?
you have a hand up from the screen.
yeah,
Oh,
that
Alex,
Alex?
is that
Alex?
Alex?
Yeah.
It is, can you hear me?
Good.
So the letter's supposed to be coming to us from the union in the next 3 weeks to do negotiations. So I was gonna send a letter asking for a rep for negotiations.
Thank you.
So at this time, are we voting for a CIP delegate? Or-
Yeah, so that's the other one. It's the way it's worded, it's the chair or, a delegate. So I think we should officially vote for that. And I would nominate Steph Summers since she's been on CIP for like, I don't know, 8 years.
It was my first town gig.
Yeah. Yeah,
Jeff's done it a lot too.
I was brief and I wasn't
yeah, that's a
asked it.
motion.
Yeah, I wasn't
Yeah.
asked back. I'll second that motion.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll vote on that. So, Lisa.
Roll
So-
call vote?
Yep.
Okay, Ms. Melhouse,
Yes.
Mr. Parsell,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Ms. Summers? Yes. Mr. Prusak?
Sure.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
And that's unanimous. Thanks for your support, Jeff.
And with that said, I encourage everybody to come to as many meetings as you possibly can, because all this stuff is gonna end up coming back to this board anyway. And that same for the Board of Selectmen, huge. Cause it's important, everybody needs to know this stuff.
Right, I plan on making as many of them as I can,
Yeah.
unless there's a major conflict.
Right.
How's the process going now? Is it still just the same kind of free for all? Like, yeah, we'll just do this.
It was really interesting, yeah.
Actually, I think, may I speak to that for
Yeah.
just a moment? I think Christina's actually brought it up, it into a lot more organizational, coherent, process.
I mean, I
It used to be far more freewheeling and disjointed, and now it's very much a process,
It's well organized.
yes.
Plus we put that,
Wednesdays.
you know, that shock absorber money in there to, because we knew that some big repairs
Yeah.
or build was coming, but that's dropping the bucket for what the needs are. It's
Yes.
just,
Yeah.
at least it's more than we used to have to play with at the outset.
Okay, so number 6.
Yeah.
Okay, number,
I have a lot from Kelly. Okay.
okay, number 6 under new business is discussion on creating a policy regarding the adult use cannabis retailer fund. Like you were gonna talk on that, Peter?
Yes, so when cannabis sales were made for recreational purposes, the state passed a 3% tax on every sale that happens within your town that comes to your town. They keep track of the books and how much it is, but they don't collect the tax. They send a letter to our business office with what that amount is, and our business office sends the bill to the cannabis retailer to send us the money. The problem with this money is that it can only be used for about 6 different things, I believe. One of them is streetscaping around the cannabis retailer. I'm not sure how much, for this year, it's like $1,300, something like
Yes,
that,
it's around 13.
1,500.
Yeah, 1449 is what they first got.
Okay, and we haven't yet received that, right? We billed it, we haven't received it. There's a lot of youth education stuff that $1,000 won't even start the program that we don't have. So the number one use on that list that makes the most sense to this town, in my opinion, is community engagement. So I did not know what community engagement meant, and there is no definition in the law. So I contacted the state senate and asked, what does community engagement mean? They said you can't buy trucks and you can't pay bills.
I don't know. Okay. Oh, no.
Do you have to poop?
Okay, you have to.
Yeah.
I want to believe that.
That's awesome.
This is so totally from Parks and Rec. Right?
So given the amount of money and what community engagement means. I feel that I've started to form a committee. The town's tricentennial celebration is coming up in 3 years, and we're gonna have to start planning early. And I don't know how much that's gonna cost, so I would really like to put that money towards the tricentennial celebration at this point. I started to develop a committee of the town historian, the head of the historical society, the chair of the historical society, and I can't remember there's several other people I've assigned to it. Or strong-armed into it, or Jimmy, I put Jimmy in charge of it, so we'd have some town input, and so that's where I'd like to go with that. I don't know what else you need for a process.
So I guess that's something we have to,
You're gonna have to budget it, I think.
well, we have to establish a fund,
Yes,
which essentially is all on you because you have the numbers. What's gonna be called and all that. We actually have to have a discussion, a meeting, and motion to establish this as what it is, what it can be used for.
Could I just suggest, it feels like, I don't know if there's gonna be other, state actions in the State House in Hartford on this or not, but we've already got the NIP money that we just dealt with, and
Yes.
that's got targeted spending
Mhm.
like this does. And then we have this one. I'm feeling like, I don't know if we have some other existing accounts like this, Donna? Do we, where revenues come in and they're earmarked for certain kinds of spending, or is it just those two new ones? Cause I'm thinking, put them under a household, like, so that we can keep our eye
Yes.
on them and, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Organize it so that,
Yes, that's actually the plan. Endorsed by our auditors, is to put the NIPS money and.
The cannabis money?
Cannabis money, yes, yes. We already have a fund where we put money for the flag replacements. And this would go in, be just like a department in that fund.
cause I was kind of wondering about some of the other uses too. I mean, we've had, like our Boy Scout troop has like had some trouble. I don't know if that's like too quasi, that's private as well as, but to sort of like open it up for, and I'm also thinking about the library has a sort of long-term plan for its development of the unfinished downstairs part to include a teen center.
Right.
To me, that's like dead center for something like
The
this.
team activities that take place in that teen center, I believe would fit this bill. Whether the building, the teen center itself would fit the bill, I don't know.
They've got money for that part though. 'Cause
Yeah,
they're
so,
gonna
but
use the remainder
you
of
could
the
use
bill
the
of the
remainder of it.
construction money.
Right, and the tricentennial comes in 3 years and then is done for another 100 years. So.
Yeah, I like
we
that.
should be able to build up some money. The other thing is the Veterans and Memorial Day celebrations. Probably need some funding. So we have plenty of community engagement that money will go away if you have it. That's what I found.
Just bringing things to, yeah.
It's one of those things that I've learned over the years, but I think that's where I'd like to see it go first, is the tricentennial.
How long can this money sit unspent?
I think a fair amount of time. I read through it a couple of times and there wasn't any.
I didn't see anything that he.
Right, the NIPS money, I wanted to get that spent right away on the street sweeper, because street sweeper was about the only thing on that list, and we don't buy a street sweeper very often. So I don't want that money to sit around till we buy the next street sweeper.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So this money, both of those are because these substances are being sold in our town.
Yes.
And the spirit of, the reason why they're giving it to us is because it's assumed that it would have some negative impact on our community or people within our community, right?
Correct.
does the state provide any information that you guys can put on the town website or at least share information so people have resources on addiction and substance abuse and things like that?
I haven't seen it, but I haven't looked for it yet either.
Because they did create a whole bunch of things about, stormwater runoff when that was a thing. Like, we could just load those things.
Yeah.
And to be in compliance, we are supposed to be sharing the information and wanted to, because we want people to know that, if they let their dog poop on top of their septic tank, then it's gonna seep in. It was just informational, but it's true.
I know it's true. But you live in the woods and don't care.
But I think the spirit of it is that we should be making people aware, and we probably can do that in some ways that don't cost any money,
Right,
but I don't know, it just occurs to me.
I may be wrong, but I don't believe we have addiction services in town yet,
Right,
or care facilities in town, and those are the kinds of things I think that were on the top part of that list.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so, and $1,000 isn't gonna go a long ways
No.
towards addiction services, but it will go a long ways towards tricentennial, so.
Yeah, but, or even if it's just the human services number, or
Right.
something.
Yeah.
I just,
Human Services has a new director, so I'm gonna let her actually find her office before I start
yeah.
hammering her for numbers. I've already started making her.
We do have some
Ask Gary
community initiatives, though. We have the lockbox program that,
Mhm.
you know,
We do.
that a citizen has been running for years
Okay,
to, you know, during the opioid crisis and other drug addiction things.
we were looking into the narcotics, I don't think it's just narcotics, it's all medication disposal box. And it turns out that it costs thousands of dollars plus thousands of dollars in insurance. Plus you have to hire 2 cops to come and see it. It turned out to be a huge expense. So we don't have that. We send people to CVS to do the same thing. Except I don't think our CVS does that.
Yeah.
I gotta check on that.
Yeah.
Go to Coventry PD. They really enjoy anything out of town. People come in and drop their bills.
You would
So
want to, go.
Oh, no, right.
No, it's okay, go on.
Oh, I just wondered, so where are we with, as far as, do we need to do something to act tonight, or can we carry it over to the next agenda to actually have a name and place
We got
for
enough.
this money?
Yeah. Sorry. I stepped on you, Donna.
I would say since the money hasn't been received yet, that we don't have, it's not urgent to make a policy to spend money that you don't have. That's what I would say.
Or even where to put it, if you don't have it.
Yeah.
No, you were here to discuss this as well, weren't you?
I prepared a brief statement just advocating for the use for the Tricentennial Committee. Like I said, my name is Jimmy Callahan, I'm the Parks and Rec Director. It's a pleasure to meet everybody if we haven't met yet. I've been recently named to the town's newest committee, the Tricentennial Committee, along with Bob Shabbat, Mark Palmer, Joan Taraskowitz, thank you, and Phil Monty. We are planning to hold our first meeting in the coming months. I am here to advocate that the funds gained from the cannabis tax be used in part to fund Willington's Tricentennial Committee in May of 2027. As we've spoken about under section 126 of SB 1201, an act concerning responsible and equitable regulation of adult cannabis use. One of the permitted uses of the cannabis funds is, quote, community civic engagement efforts. The Tricentennial celebration is a landmark occasion for the town, and the celebration will involve Willington residents, town employees past and present, local groups and businesses. This is an opportunity for members of the community to come together and celebrate the history of this great town, learn about the past, and promote everything great Willington has to offer as we look towards the future. This funding can be used to promote the celebration, secure live entertainment for the celebration, and to purchase food and activities for the residents to enjoy during the celebration. As the Tricentennial Committee begins to meet and discuss ideas to celebrate Willington, the public will be
will be able to participate and keep up to date through meetings, meeting minutes, and online updates. Please feel free to reach out at any time to discuss the celebration, and I look forward to continuing to work. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I believe that's it for this topic.
I have just one quick question. Do we have, and forgive me, I'm new, so I don't know, do we have like a specific fund for community engagement type stuff? Or do we not even have that? Like, could we set up that fund and then we could just put the NIPS money in there and this money in there, and then it can just be used kind of whenever something like the tricentennial comes up or other, the Memorial Day stuff, is that a possibility?
If I could make a suggestion is to have Donna work up a model motion meeting to set up that account for what it's gonna be used for. To meet those requirements under the two laws, because it's both the NIPS law and the cannabis law are two separate laws, so if she's usually pretty good about coming up with a motion, so you don't have to.
They can't be in the same fund though, right? They need to be,
I believe they can be in the same fund.
oh, really?
Yeah,
So
they-
you don't need separate bookkeeping for those two things?
I believe if I read the law correctly under the NIPS fund, they just want you to throw in the general fund and remember how much you put in there and then spend it accordingly and report
Yeah,
on
that's
it.
gonna happen.
Yeah, that's what I thought, which is why I'm suggesting she comes up with a motion to set up an account.
Well, that's what this was saying too, the amounts permitted become a part of municipality's general revenue.
Yeah, see, that's,
So like, would a fund like that be considered under the general? Or is that a specific?
That is not the general fund. What we would want to do is put it in a fund that rolls at the end of the year and the balance stays with it. The general fund lapses at the end. So anyway, we want to keep it in a fund in two separate accounts
Easier to
and
track.
set it up to roll.
Yeah.
Year after year.
Any other questions or comments regarding that? All right, so I overpassed old business before, and what was the vote to approve the letters to the budget writers? So it's presented at the last meeting. Are there any comments regarding that?
Yeah, that was actually last year's letter, for the budget process, so the idea was if anyone had anything they wanted to change in it or whatever, but at the very least, there's a lot of dates to change because it's wrong fiscal year. There's a different recording secretary to send, the files to. And Donna, have you sent out the budget, the spreadsheets to people yet, by any chance?
Not yet. I like to send out a package with the letter, the calendar, and a worksheet.
Okay.
So I was hoping after tonight, we would have a letter, guidance letter that I could send out.
Do you guys have a copy of that guidance letter?
I have it right here.
It's from, this is the one
This one's here.
yeah, but was that included in packets?
Yeah.
Do you guys have it in your packet or anything?
I know I have.
Because if you do, I mean, maybe if anyone wants, I don't know if anyone wants to add to it or anything. You want me to read it real quick?
It's in the last meeting.
Yeah,
I'm just, what did we say last year that?
we just basically say, please use the Excel spreadsheet from Donna, but it's a guidance letter. And it says, it's asking specifically any increases over the current fiscal year spending are explained specifically and in writing, like, please be detailed. If the increases are equal to or greater than 10% in a line item, as well as any staffing or program service changes that impact your budget requests, to sort of give the narrative for what, explain that. So that if it's, like if it's a significant increase or something, why that is. And note anything new that will be a year-over-year commitment, like, for instance, that's what I was asking about the ARPA thing for the senior center. that'll be ground in as a big jump in
Yep.
their payroll line. So that kind of thing. Significant costs like contractual stuff that goes up. Significant risks to your budget such as salary negotiations underway or pending compliance changes. Prepare to justify and defend your budget request on the presentation dates on the attached calendar and submit your budget request. I don't think we can ask for 2 weeks because this is late getting out. So, that's, I don't know if you want to change that. But,
So
because first one's February 1st, so.
So the only thing I would say is that over the years, we've had different tones in these letters. Sometimes we say, we wanna know, like, everything you need, so that we would know, so we know the full picture, but we're probably gonna make cuts. And then sometimes we say,
Come in at zero.
come in at zero increase over the last year. And sometimes we, I don't know, I don't have a feeling that we need, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the tone should be this year.
I mean, I get, one of the things I've noticed just from the discussion last night and the discussion today on all the other agenda items is because we have such a capital heavy expectation, I think it's reasonable to say on the operating that, it's not a year, I would say it's not a year to, expand a lot of programs.
Yeah.
But we want to know about anything that's a clear need. And also the ARPA fallout, the things that we started under ARPA, I know that we asked people not to do something that was gonna carry over into the operating budget. But there were a couple things that did get approved that way. so.
Yeah, yeah.
So those things I think it's worth saying we have some big capital expense ahead of us and someone's gotta get it.
Can we ask Pete, what do you want, what his feeling is?
Yeah, you're the guy.
You
Pete.
guys, you get to set the tone, Pete.
I'm setting the tone. I think you're probably right, Stephanie, is that programmatic needs are gonna, to limit programmatic needs as capital budget's gonna be priority and a heavy lift for the town. And that might be where you wanna go with your letter. That's where you're gonna wanna concentrate.
I don't know if you guys wanna work on, the wording or whatever.
I mean, it's gonna end up being that with,
Or are we just, what do you mean, Jeff?
same thing every time, so either you can say it's zero or flat, whatever tone you want to rewrite this. But there were different dates in the, different people, I think,
You don't think it gets high readership, do you?
Well, wheels are meant to be round. So.
I think Jeff just brought us the breath of realism on how long these letters
As
are read.
always.
I mean, you can say some doom and gloom stuff.
Well,
We've done that, like to your point, we've done that in the past, where we said, hold it zero or
the
lower.
problem is, we always get things that are more than you'd expect.
You always will.
And then there's always a shock that we can't fund that. So it feels right to say ahead of time,
You may not be funded.
yeah, but.
I think that is an appropriate line to put in there, but I think that Jeff is
Or to
refreshingly realistic about how carefully these letters are read.
Or for a lot of our departments, to look for revenue offset.
Right.
To look for potential, revenue grants, things like that,
Doesn't that say that?
that can offset. No, we don't say that. But it's also kind of nice to keep it to one page, because otherwise,
Last
no one
letter
reads
was
it.
pretty nice. Pretty.
I love your sunny outlook on how the one page is read.
What's that?
I love your sunny outlook on how you think one
Oh,
page is
yeah.
read.
Well, I'm an optimist,
Yes,
but
you
I
are.
know 2
Glass
pages
is half full.
definitely aren't.
I know, if it were me, I wouldn't wanna try to, it would lose its meaning if it had more than one page, so.
Yeah.
Thank God we've already done the Magna Carta.
So what are the feelings of sticking with last year's letter and just changing the personal information on?
I think you ought to add that one line at the bottom that full funding shouldn't be necessarily expected, or I don't know how you write that line. I anticipate some cuts.
You in the office tomorrow?
Yeah, I am starting at noon.
You wanna get together to discuss this?
Yeah, let's make it after 1 though, because I've got a meeting at noon.
Okay, I'll call, make an appointment in the
All
morning.
right, yeah. No, there's nobody here in the morning, so call me at noon.
Okay.
This is close.
So other than adding that to the letter, making the year changes and all, because this needs to go right out, correct?
Right.
Yes. Yeah, so. Does anybody want to put a motion in the vote on that?
How about, I'll make a motion to, empower our chair to collaborate with our first selectman on a letter to go out ASAP.
Second. Okay. Ready, Lisa?
Look at that bug.
Anyways, the crown.
Yes.
Summers.
Steps.
What's that? Oh, sorry. Oh, yes.
Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Ms. Mello,
Yes.
Mr. Ross,
Yes.
Mr. Parcell,
Yes.
and Mr. Prusak,
Yes.
and that's unanimous.
Now, I received a letter from, an email from Phil Stevens regarding the meeting of April 9th, 2024 for the Board of Finance budget hearing. He has a Board of Ed meeting that day at 7 o'clock. He's wondering if we could change our meeting to 6 o'clock to accommodate him to come in and discuss the, budget. Would anybody have a conflict with that?
That's on the 22nd of February.
Nope, April 9th.
So that's the budget here.
Oh, the hearing.
So what I would say is that 7 o'clock is a more convenient time for the general public, since this is a meeting for the general public.
You're right.
Is there any way that the Board of Ed can,
Those are set a year in advance. Those meetings,
okay,
13 calendars.
everyone's are. You can cancel, you can just, you know.
You have to put special at the beginning of the agenda, moving it along.
What is the?
They reported this.
There's a Board of Ed meeting.
Their Board of Ed meeting starts at 7 o'clock. And they wouldn't be able to.
So
have a
either you don't have
representative here.
Phil or someone at the budget hearings. Yeah, we're very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody's in the Board of Ed here. Jen is.
Michelle.
I'm not on
She's
board.
not.
Oh, yeah.
No, I was just saying that they have to report to the State Board of Ed for
Oh,
a
right.
2 months calendar.
Yep.
Oh, it is that, Richard?
Yeah. I mean, they can do a special meeting and they can cancel a meeting.
Okay.
It's not impossible, but it's already been announced, you know. and
But you can cancel
submitted to the state. Yeah, but they have a lot on the agenda. They're not gonna cancel in April.
As far as our calendar goes, because we've got it like lodged, it's like the budget hearing is 2 weeks after we close, you know, we do the appropriations or whatever. And then 2 weeks before the annual town meeting, which then goes in to the referendum 2 weeks after that. So they're all split. Is that statutory to do it that way?
Yes,
So we have to have like 2-week periods between all those steps. Is that it? Is that right?
not less than 7, not more than 14 days. Not less than 7 days, not more than 14 days.
Okay, so is there any reason why we couldn't do the budget hearing
On a Wednesday,
on the 16th or something instead of the 9th? And then the 23rd would be the annual town meeting.
I think you wanna move it one day, not that many days, because of the window you have to hit. So instead of having it on Thursday, you have it on the day before or the day after, instead of moving it in.
Right, except aren't they always on Tuesdays? Everything's on Tuesday.
We
The referendum
try to
is,
put
the
them on
town meetings.
Tuesdays, but
Yeah,
I'm not sure it's a requirement that it be on a Tuesday. I was just checking on the last town meeting that I called, and I think that there was some talk of calling it on a Monday, so. Give me a day or
also, if we did the
Business
budget
day.
hearing on April 8th, we could miss this vote altogether. Cause the school board meets on the 9th, right? Is that what you're saying?
or if school board meets on the 9th, you have your hearing on the 10th,
On Wednesday?
yeah.
As long as that doesn't conflict with any other thing.
Yeah, so we have to look at the town calendar to make sure and check with the town clerk to see if you can have it on a Wednesday. Like I said, I'm pretty sure you can, but I keep running into stuff that I didn't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, cause
Every day, about 15
Everything has to be
times
all
a day.
tied together, so.
Yeah.
No, and we're not gonna be able to decide it tonight.
No,
Yeah,
no.
it's a lot.
I would follow with Bill to see if it.
That would make sense.
There have been hearings where nobody shows up. And it's just us. So,
But
Yeah.
last year it was lively.
I know, but I mean, for representatives of every single, yeah, Board of Ed's support. I don't know if they could send somebody, just that can speak to the budget. Again.
Yeah.
So we can circle back to this, but.
All right, so
I would not try to move ours to 6th.
I understand what you're saying.
But I think it's gonna be crucial that that Phil be there this particular year.
It'd be nice.
No, it's not just nice. I think this budget's gonna be
Oh, I'm sure.
it's gonna be more difficult, Jeff, than what we've seen, than what we did, what we have in this current year, right? Isn't that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay.
That's
So there'll be
why I
more
would suggest
questions.
moving the
Yeah.
hearing one day and have it on a Wednesday instead of a Tuesday, for instance.
All right, so what I propose is that we just table this till the next meeting. We'll look at the calendar. We could look at the calendar tomorrow, to see what's going on that week as far as other town meetings go, and then discuss at the next meeting, move from there. Right, somebody want to second that? Oh, go on, Peter.
Oh, I have another topic, so I'll wait till this vote's done, so I'm fine.
Okay, so I motion that we table this till the next meeting for related discussion. You have a second?
Sorry.
Lisa?
And a roll call vote, Mr. Ross,
Yes.
Ms. Melhouse. Yes. Mr. Lawler,
Yes.
Mr. Parcell,
Yes.
Ms. Summers,
Yes.
and Mr. Cruiser,
Yes.
and that's unanimous.
I got one more thing under general information. Pardon me?
Communications.
Communications, I'm communicating to you. So I guess it's communications. The reason I had to leave at the beginning of this is Mid-Near was meeting at the same time online. And Ellington is leaving the consortium, so it looks like we're gonna have a 13% increase in our Mid-Near budget. That was an approximate number, which I got out of them because I left the meeting early. Right now, our share is $5,500 or something like that, of which we get a $5,000 cut because we had people bringing the hazardous waste to our towns. So for that, we get $5,000 off our budget. but I have a feeling the 13% is over the whole 5,500. So that will be a budget increase. Just pre-planning, letting you know it's coming.
What does it stand for?
Mid northeast something.
It's for the cost of
ecological-
hazardous way of
It's
processing.
processing hazardous
hazardous
waste.
waste.
That thing that back to the dump that's open like once a month,
Yeah.
bringing really horrible stuff to them.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
Right.
The bad stuff goes there.
Okay, so before we call for adjournment, is there anything else anybody has to say?
GNW.
I'm good.
Okay. Anybody want a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that we should, well, I'm sorry, just that to encourage everyone to go to the town meeting on the 23rd. Because there's several items on the agenda, including the volunteer firefighter abatement, catching up with the statutes on that for our town ordinance, and there's just like,
School.
pardon me,
And plumbing for the school.
plumbing for the school, and there's some.
There's 4
there's some
items
other
and
things.
I,
But just
Street
because
sweeper.
it's January, you know,
Right.
and so I'm just like saying, show up.
All right, so we had a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. Lisa.
You can do it now, just all.
Oh, we don't have to do that, just all in
Okay,
favor.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Peter, I'll tell your office in the morning.
I won't be there till noon,
Okay,
and nobody else is in the building, so I'm the only one here.
okay.
Yeah.
Yay.
Hey, Pete, did I tell you you gotta go or have Troy go earlier in the day to turn the heat on over there?
Okay,
At the old town hall.
No,
At the town
I
meeting.
I-
Yeah.
It's really cold.
don't like my office right now.